Welcome to the Endurance Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. Thank you for watching and listening. This episode is brought to you by Squirrel's Nut Butter. Who doesn't need a little extra lube in their life? They make adventure lube. It's the best in the business. I use the saddle butter for riding and the anti-chafe for ultra running. It's all natural ingredients, sustainable packaging, and it's locally manufactured here in Flagstaff, Arizona. And go check out episode number 4 with Chris Thornley. He's the owner and operator of Squirrel's Nut Butter. He's an amazing human, and he's got some really great stories on that podcast. So check him out. You can use my unique promo code, Endurance15, for 15% off any of their products online at squirrelsnutbutter.com, or you can click the link in the description and it will automatically be applied to your shopping cart. So please use that code. Go buy from them. Let them know that their support of this podcast is paying off for them, and spread that lube love. squirrelsnutbutter.com. This episode is brought to you by Embark Good Energy. If y'all have been following me for a while, you'll know that I have a thing for maple syrup, and I'm stoked to announce that I am now an ambassador for Embark Good Energy. They hail from the woods of Wisconsin's driftless region, and they make amazing organic maple syrup. So I love adding this, what I call rocket fuel, into my bikepacking race mix. There's 3 flavors: salted maple energy, coffee maple energy with 72 milligrams of green tea caffeine, that's my favorite, and elderberry, which can be taken straight up or mixed with water. One 3 fluid ounce pouch has a lab verified 320 calories and 80 grams of carbs. And it's not that garbage maple syrup with high fructose corn syrup. This is 100% organic, great tasting maple syrup. You can use directly from the pack for quick energy, mix it with water for a hydration aid, or use it in camp cooking and even cocktail mixes. They're convenient resealable pouches, so you can have multiple uses while consuming it and avoid sticky messes. So use my unique promo code to get 20% off today. The code is EMBARK20, EMBARK20, for any products online at embarkmaple.com. Today's guest is a bit of a unicorn. He's one of the most unique people I've ever had the chance to meet. He's an ultra-endurance bikepacker, runner, and all-around trail crusher. He recently completed the 2024 Gunny Loopy Loop, and according to track leaders, is planning to be at the start line of the Arizona Trail 800 Grand Depart this year. I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Bodhi Roether.
Cheers, bud. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
You got a big race coming up. How's that feel?
Let's see. I'm a little nervous. I woke up a couple nights ago and I was having a mini panic attack about mile 60 through 80.
That makes sense.
Because I've done this before, just the first 56 miles. So I did a duo last year with Jess.
Oh, okay.
And
I was going to say 56 miles is a strange number to hear out loud.
Yeah, so we did the 100 duo. And at that time that was my longest run. What? And I went out way hot, and you go right up and over the peaks.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll do 9-minute miles the whole time. And I do at mile, 37 maybe. Yeah. I just completely fell off a cliff and was it all caught up. And I just was shuffling, old man shuffling for the next 20 miles.
I understand.
What's the longest ultra you've done?
I mean, in a day, probably rim to rim to rim.
That was when you were in Flag, right?
When I saw you last, mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I was here for Pinions and Pines, and then everyone went off in the morning, and then I chatted with Dana for a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm gonna go do it. And then I stopped at the marathon just across the way and loaded up on some food.
Yeah.
And
went and drove and did it that day?
Yeah.
How long did it take?
12 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have it slated for like a month from now.
It was sick, dude. It was like a little too hot, and it was like the first thing I'd done like out of winter.
Yeah.
And it felt terrible.
Yeah.
But got it done. And then, yeah, actually this last weekend, me and my buddy went on the hard rock course. We were going to like do a full soft rock, like 4 days, but the weather was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did like a 2-day thing, and I like blew my IT band up, which now I'm all stressed about AZT.
I saw you signed up for that.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was in the cards this year.
Yeah, it's been in the cards for a while.
The 800, right?
Yeah. I think for like, I mean, ever since I started, it was like the goal was to do the 800, and it just kept not seeming like attainable. And yeah, kind of in the position now where like time off is a little easier to come by.
Yeah.
And why not?
Pull that mic up closer to you.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot this year, so doing the 800 seems kind of par for the course.
So, what was your first bikepacking event, or like memorable bikepacking trip or event that you did?
I think I had like done one overnighter before embarking on have you ever heard of Blue Dog cycles?
No.
They're in Tucson. There's this shop, Blue Dog, like before Campfire Cyclery kind of took over, and he called it the Ultra Cruise, and it was like, I want to say it was like 200 miles or something, and I had like just started biking. I got a mountain bike when I bought my Sprinter van. It was like some ex-racer, and he was like, oh, I got too many bikes. I'm like moving to Alaska. Like, do you want this like carbon BMC race cross-country bike? And I like started riding that, and then, yeah, was like hanging out at Blue Dog a little too much because it was right where I was living in Tucson. And everyone like convinced me to try this race, and I like didn't have anything. Like the day before the race, I borrowed a bunch of stuff, mostly from Connor Adkisson.
Does he work there? He's a mechanic there? Or he's a mechanic in Tucson, right?
He was just a buddy of mine. I met him in Flagstaff, actually.
Okay.
He lives in Durango with me now.
Okay.
But yeah, Connor like lent me a bunch of stuff because he was like really into bike packing and riding bikes. And I went out and like didn't have the right bike or didn't have any gear that was tested, and just like went out with like a file on my phone, and had like the first day it just started downpouring, and there's a bunch of kind of like heavy hitters that showed up, like Justin Dubois, this dude Ben Trokey, a bunch of like fast Southwest people that are kind of more like drop acid bike packing instead of like slam gels bike packing. And yeah, I met a bunch of cool people, and like first day I just got like crushed. I missed like every turn because it was like a bunch of really obscure stuff, and I didn't know about the route at all. And I just got like super mad, dumped all my water out, and was like, I'm gonna ride home, and like started riding down Reddington Road, and then was like, wait, I like don't have anything else to do. So I like turned around and then had to ride to oh man, I forget what the town on like the north side of Mount Lemmon is. But I pedaled like 40 miles to the next town with like no water.
Oracle?
No, it's like to the east of Oracle,
okay.
by like the control road.
Mm.
I want to say it's like Miguel or something.
Oh, San Manuel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got there, and Nate, who's like was the owner of Blue Dog and who was like putting on the ride, was there, and he had his like little dog in his backpack, and he was like, yeah dude, I'm just gonna have a campfire. And I was like, all right, I think I'm just gonna ride like up to Control Road, try to meet back up with everyone. And it was like 11 p.m. and he was like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, sounds fun. And then I left, and like my lights were all dead, but it was a full moon ride. So I just like rode the road by moonlight and like tried to meet back up with everyone, because there's like a sag wagon like on the control road at some mile marker I knew.
Yeah.
But I didn't know like who it was. And I just pulled up at like 3 a.m. and like saw a bunch of people sleeping by a van, and I was like, this has to be it. So like slept there, woke up.
It was it.
Yeah, it was it. Thankfully.
It wasn't somebody else's situation.
No. Yeah, most people that I wanted to see were there.
Okay.
Except like Ben and Justin were kind of off, like actually racing.
Yeah.
And everyone else was like asleep at the sag wagon, because apparently there was like quesadillas and good stuff, but
yeah,
I wasn't there when any of that happened. And then yeah, pedaled up the control road, and then we dropped Red Ridge, which was like, it's like adjacent to Oracle, but actually rideable and fun.
Which is now on the Arizona Trail.
Yeah. And like, yeah, and the fire kind of like messed that trail up super bad.
Okay.
But anyways, like descended, and like just before Oracle, there's these like this super fast double track, and I was having too much fun like hitting these giant like water bars, and just like crashed super hard. Bike like went tumbling, and I snapped my brake lever off my bike, and I was like, cool, I'm done. And then this dude Harrison, he's a mechanic, he does a lot of bike packing, was like, oh, I can just like swap your lever if you want, like if you don't want your front and you'd rather have a rear or whatever. And I was just like, nah, dude, I'm like, I just wanted to be done. And I was like, I'm good, I'm gonna fucking ride home. So yeah, rode in and out, got some cheeseburgers, got myself home. And that was like technically my second time ever bike packing. And the first time I like bought an old Specialized stump jumper from Bikes in Tucson, the like co-op.
Yeah.
And like ski strapped a sleeping bag on the bars, and like rode up Reddington Road, and then went to bed and rode back home. And that was like first time bike packing. And then second time was that ultra cruise. And then third, maybe I'd gone like a couple more times, and then I did the 300.
So were you running before this? Were you like a runner before biking, or did they kind of happen together?
I was like a bike deliverer for Jimmy John's.
Okay.
In Tucson at like the university. And that was like square one of like riding bikes. I mean, as a kid, I rode bikes like to get everywhere, and it was like classic suburb transportation.
Yeah. This was in Tucson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, from riding a bike as a kid, like started putting down a lot of miles as a Jimmy John's messenger.
Yeah.
I then kind of like got the road bug a little, and was just like riding everywhere all the time. And then got that mountain bike when I got that van, and that was like 2019 probably. And then yeah, crashed out of that race. And then crashed out of that race. And then that night I like slept outside the shop in my van. Bike got stolen off the back of my van, and then got renter's insurance claim. Bought my current hardtail.
Yeah.
And then like moved to Durango, and then it was just kind of like game over since then.
Yeah, it's a
money?
Money? Yeah, shell money.
Shell money. Money LaRocca.
Yeah.
Version 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the difference from version 1 to version 2?
You can ask the scientist.
Okay.
I'm not super deep into the geo numbers.
Hardtail.
I feel like I'd describe it as like a BMXer's hardtail. It's like really short, really playful, which kind of bites back for like super long descents, because it's like really short, but it's got a steep head tube angle. So it's like you don't really feel like you're going to go over the bars, but you're also like working pretty hard to stay like behind the bike.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting numbers. And it's like got a wicked high bottom bracket, which is nice. Like, I don't think I've pedal striked in like 3 years.
Yeah. I just I have a flip chip on my bike.
Oh, nice.
On my Epic Evo, and I just put it into the more the lower position, so it lowers that bottom bracket by 3 millimeters or something. And I've like pedal strikes like 2 or 3 times just on day rides.
It's only 3 mil too.
Yeah, but it's like noticeable, and I don't know if it's that noticeable as far as feeling better descending. It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't make
Doesn't
that
feel
big
more
difference.
stable.
No, I
more
mean
compliant.
That bike's pretty like twitchy, which I'm okay with that. I'm kind of a twitchy rider. I had a Bronson for a while, a 27.5 Bronson, and that thing was just like so stable, and it could eat anything, right?
Yeah,
anything.
It's kind of boring though.
Yeah, it was, and it didn't lend itself to the type of riding that I like to do,
especially
right?
if you're a runner.
Yeah,
like having like a twitchy, fast, compliant, like.
I guess you're right, huh?
Like a knife of a bike.
Like if you're a trail runner.
Way more like running.
Right.
And like single speeding is like 90% running.
Right.
It's really nice. Yeah.
Is your setup single speed then?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just run it all the time like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Since I built it, all those Blue Dog guys were single speeders, some of them rigid single speeders. And everyone was just so cool and nice. And I was like, I want to be a part of this cool, nice crew.
The single speed cult, you mean?
Yeah. You could call it a cult.
The ideology.
But it's a pretty nice cult to be a part of. And yeah, we built up that bike single speed, and I moved to Durango and like didn't realize it at the time because I didn't know single speeders. I was running like way too hard of a gear for way too long, and I was just like dying. Like moved to higher altitude, steeper terrain, too hard of a gear. And kind of just out of like sheer grit and not wanting to like put the single speed away, I just like kept pedaling it.
Yeah.
Pushing it. And then one day I put two tooth easier gear on, and oh man, I was just having a grand time. Like huge rides were like not tiring at all because I'd just been pedaling like this burly gear.
Yeah, just blowing your mind.
Unbeknownst to me that like. Yeah, I was just getting wicked strong.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty like diehard single speed. Commuting on roads, gears make a lot of sense, but kind of just like single track and like steep stuff. So
yeah, flats or clips.
I'm on flats, but boy, I keep getting more and more clipless curious. I just like blow through shoes.
Yeah.
But I like, my buddy Andrew makes Tectonic pedals in Durango, and they're so grippy and so big that like you can run a pretty like soft running shoe. So I've just been like on the one shoe quiver as like my running shoe and riding shoe. And it's getting a lot of mileage, and I just like tear through shoes. Mm-hmm. And I think clipless just lasts longer. But I do so much hiking that like, and it's my only bike. So like riding around town, if I had clipless shoes, like I'd have to wear clipless shoes everywhere, and deal with all that. That's kind of a pain.
Yeah. Or bring a backpack and change them out all the time. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No. Yeah. That was the one like big change I made after CTR was pedals.
Which direction?
So I flip-flopped on whether I was going to go with flats or clips like I normally ride.
You normally ride clips?
Yeah, like SPD.
Yeah.
Like the cross-country style. I forget the Shimano. Like XT,
like
cross-country.
XTR.
They were XTs.
Shimano and their numbering, dude. I was talking to Andrew, and I was like, oh, what shoe's that? It's like the MTH 90102. You're like... Dude, this is not helpful, Shimano.
I'm pretty sure there's a logic behind it.
I run the XT 8012.
It's like Terminator. It's like the Terminator movies.
It's ridiculous. Great products though.
They were the XT, just the smaller cross country ones, and then I was thinking to go to flats. I got talked into flats before CTR, and then
Who talked you into it?
A few different people said like, "There's so much hiking. Just think about it. Like it might just make a lot more sense to wear flats because you're really not gaining much efficiency from from like what you're getting out of the additional like what pull-up stroke when you're on your pedal stroke when you're pulling up on the other side, which is one of the arguments that makes, I mean, they are more efficient when you're riding gravel or roads and stuff.
Yeah.
But like on that, is it worth it? And now in hindsight, it's like, no, it's not. If you can hike faster. What slowed me down was the hiking, because I had such like severe foot pain that I just came to a stop when I could have really been faster at that part and overall taken off a lot of time on the hiking.
And the like 10,000 transitions, like the on and off the bike like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to just hop off, not worry about it.
Right.
Or like try super technical stuff when you're fatigued and like it's not a big deal. You just like put a foot down when you're tired.
Right. So I ended up, I did it in those in the SPDs and regretted it, came back and I was like, I'm switching to flats if I ever do anything like that again. And then I had a friend text me and say, maybe try the XTs, the XTR pedals that have the M9100. I think they're 9100s. They have like the big platforms on them, so they're more like an enduro pedal.
Yeah.
But they give a lot more support.
Yeah.
So I bought those. I'm going to try those.
But were your feet fatiguing from hiking or from riding?
So a combination of both. It was from the cleat pushing up on my foot in one spot.
Yeah.
The cleat was a little bit too far forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of pushing into the ball of my foot a little bit. And that's my normal riding position. But after, 4 days of it, that's new territory for me. So, and then all the hiking, so the hiking was creating that. But then when I was getting up on top of the pedals, my feet were just kind of like bending on those little pedals, they weren't sitting like very rigid.
Like little bird claws.
Yeah.
Little talons.
And
on top
just accentuating that pain from the hiking. I wasn't getting any relief from that.
Yeah.
So I ended up like pushing those all the way back.
Moving your cleat back in your shoe.
As far back on my foot as possible. So it went over the widest part of my foot as possible. And that resolved it temporarily, but it would have continued to be an issue for sure.
What shoe were you running?
Pearl Izumi X Alp Summits, which kind of just fall apart.
Yeah.
Pretty heavily.
If it's not made in Japan, don't run it.
So, and that was another suggestion. Whatever the Shimano number is, the ME 154517.
Yeah.
That shoe.
Very familiar with the model.
Whatever Kurt wears, Kurt Ruffsnyder.
Like the wizard dude.
Whatever. So it was like whatever he wore on when he did CDT.
Whatever he wears for anything, you should do.
Do that.
Yeah,
exactly. So, and it was that pedal and that shoe combo. And I mean, he did so much hiking on a Continental Divide Trail. It was like so much like lifting his bike up over
like
hundreds and thousands of trees. Yeah.
Kind of like, why would you bring a bike?
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, his mission was it wasn't to go fast on that.
Yeah.
So, so I ended up there and I haven't ridden it because I've just been running, like just focusing on running.
Yeah.
But after this event's over, it'll be back to seeing how those work out.
Nice.
So, yeah, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I can go away completely from the clips. I've gotten so used to like the pedaling dynamics and like getting my feet, like clearing rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'm concerned I was going to clip pedals doing that,
I've always wondered if like some people get like more knee pain than others on clipless pedals. Cause like you're locked into one position and like that position alone for days and days and like hundreds of miles. And you get like, you can't like reset to like different positions and
like you can naturally on flats.
Yeah. Like your body will just take separate. It'll do whatever it wants.
Right.
But I don't know.
I don't know what like the top 5 guys
clipless.
Were they all? I think on CTR were probably clipless.
I don't know. They're always clipless.
Yeah.
All the fastest times have been clipless.
Yeah, even with all the hiking. Yeah. Not the single speed times though.
I mean, Kurt, Neil, Hefe.
Yeah.
All 3 of those dudes only ride clipless.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, like, yeah, I've run flats for forever. I've actually never even ridden clipless on mountain bikes. I like red clipless when I read red and haven't tried since then. So it's been like 6 years. of riding nothing but flats.
And you've gotten used to like,
And now I'm just like curious. I'm like, oh, what's the other side like?
yeah.
But the cost of entry, you know, buying Shimano Terminator shoes and Shimano pedals is going to be, is it worth an experiment, or should I just keep running what I've brung?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking what, like $250 for XTR stuff for both of those, maybe $300. That's a pretty pricey experiment. You can borrow it.
Yeah, I'm not going to borrow it though.
Borrow somebody's like.
That's not gear to borrow.
After your pedal experiences.
Yeah, but I know people that have had that happen with clipless pedals.
Oh, that was on flats?
Yeah.
Oh, your flat pedal broke off.
Yeah.
From the spindle.
Yeah.
On Arizona Trail 300.
Yeah.
I thought it was a clip.
No, that was flats.
You didn't define it when we.
Yeah, that was on flats, and that's why like I had such bad like shoe problems. Because I think if that had happened and I had a rigid clipless shoe, then it wouldn't have like blown through the shoe completely. But I just like had a super soft like enduro flat shoe with like soft rubber, and it just like that spindle just tore completely through the sole.
Yeah, it would have gotten down to that like carbon plate that's in clipless shoes.
Yeah.
And it would have stopped at the carbon plate probably.
Yeah.
Or it would have taken a lot longer to wear through it.
Might have been more slippery though.
Yeah.
Either way, not ideal.
Yeah, so I mean
and that happened to Andrew. It happens clipless, clips, whatever.
So
it just might happen.
Does it just happen to single speeders because they're putting more pressure on it? You know? That's, you know, there's this argument for like single speed being a lot more over time,
cool.
A lot more reliable, extra cool, more reliable.
Yeah.
Right. But then there's like all these extra things, all this extra points of pressure, I think, that a bike's not designed for sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you're undoubtedly putting more torque through a bike, but you're also like, I think you're minimizing like mechanical opportunities.
Yeah.
Like derailleurs, mud. None of that mixes very well. Single speed's like so easy, and they make single speed hubs.
Yeah.
And like you could run a higher like spoke tension on your drive side. There's plenty of things you could combat.
Right.
And I know plenty of pretty soft clipless people that have blown their pedal off their spindle.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can't really check it, can you?
You can. I mean, like, I feel like the one precaution I know people have done is like, if you know you've put a ton of like thousands of miles in a pedal, just like start with the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're racing like 3 races a year, like you're not going to do that.
Right.
And I mean, I feel like pedals are like the one fail point that no one thinks about because it's like a closed system in some regard.
Yeah.
And like servicing it is like probably not going to fix whatever actually happens. Like whatever blowout you have was probably just going to happen.
Yeah, I really would be interested to know exactly what happened mechanically on yours, you know, like what failed on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes like you can loosen to like access your bushing or your bearings. You normally have like the opposite of like your crank side. There's like a screw. And if that like unthreads, then your pedal might get a little play, like side to side play. And then eventually you can like fold your bearings over. And then there's like nothing holding it together.
Right.
And then it'll just like pop right off.
Right.
And there's like no hope. Like your bushings, your bearings are not doing their job anymore.
Right. Yeah, I've replaced the spindle on SPDs, and it's just like cone. It's just like any other bearing. It's the cones and the balls in there. And so once that separates, it's done. You're toast. Yeah. But I wonder if like that inner nut, like on the SPDs, there's the, once you pull a spindle out, there's just like a nut on the end of it that holds all that together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if that comes loose, that's it, right? So maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, if like something's not Loctited and you've hit it enough times, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They just kind of seem like they're They almost never have problems, but they just might.
Yeah, and when they do, it's it's like a single point of failure. Like there's nothing you can do. So I had the screws. One of the screws that holds down the front plate, the front like clip-in plate on my pedal, come out during Pinions and Pines. So there's 3 of those, right? Yeah. So there's some redundancy there. I noticed it, and I was just kind of like, well, I'll just keep an eye on it, and if one of the other ones loosens, then I'll just stop and retighten them however often until I can find a bolt that can go back in there.
Yeah.
And not interfere with it. But it's like a super specialty bolt, so that probably wasn't going to happen. Huh. So that, that could have been bad because that could have dropped the front plate off, which means you can't get in the pedal either. So,
but you can on the other side, right?
You could flip it over and do it on the other side. Yeah. Or steal a bolt from the other side. Yeah. But once one bolt goes, right, it could have potential to loosen the others if you're not paying attention to it. Right. So, but yeah, you have the whole other side. So you have like multiple layers of redundancy there.
Yeah.
Right. So you're probably not going to have that big of a problem. Not like the whole thing falling off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So what was going through your mind in that moment? Were you like sleep deprived?
Yeah, I was super sleep deprived. That was like the first race I ever did and was just like, had a Sickney dynamo set up with my light and like night came and was just stoked and like rode through the whole first night and then was just like behind Kurt, albeit like far behind Kurt, but he was like the only person in front of me and like pushed up Mount Lemon and then blew the pedal off on Oracle Ridge and like hadn't slept since then. So that was like this second night. And like, noticed it was gone and then turned around and was like, oh, I'll go look for it for like 5 minutes and like maybe I find it. Found it, like found the pedal body and then threw it back on, but I couldn't find the nut that like actually holds the pedal body on. And I was like, like I could go to Oracle and wait for something to open. It was probably like 11 p.m. So if I wanted to wait till Oracle, I feel like my race is like over, even though, it definitely wasn't.
Could happen to Kurt too.
So I just like laid on a rock and like took like a 10-minute power nap and then woke up and was like, I'll just get what I need in Oracle. And then I like got down to the road and it was still like the middle of the night. And I was like, nah, whatever. It'll be fine. And then just kind of continued on and just slowly got slower and slower and had like more and more foot pain and like knee pain. Cause
and that's the Black Hills section after Oracle. So that gets into kind of it's like very desolate out there.
It's really desolate and it's like should be really fast until Martinez Canyon. Like normally you can pedal like and just cruise on like the fastest cross country trails.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of you'll go down like into a wash and then up out of a wash and then they get bigger. There's some that are like Bloodsucker Wash, I think, is a big descent and a big climb.
I don't know. I feel like that whole section from like the Gila to from like Oracle to the Gila is like single speeder's paradise.
Totally.
It's just this perfect rolling terrain. You're always in the right gear and it's super fast. But my knee was like really mad because it was like reaching too far without the pedal on. Like going down to the spindle and then eventually like my shoe being enveloped by the spindle, like my one foot was just reaching like way further and I just like was blowing my knee up like every pedal stroke. It was pretty bad. And then I like slowly was just getting passed by everyone and I was just like, damn, this sucks. So I was like, I slept like 10 minutes over the course of 3 days and it was just misery, dude. And like I told you last time, I was just like out there hunting for trash, like trying to add rigidity to my shoe, like looking for cans, strapping cactus spine to the bottom of my shoe, like doing whatever I could and like nothing worked and it was terrible. We actually used that pedal as a like Christmas tree star. that Christmas.
On the top?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It
amazing.
was pretty cute. Still have that pedal, actually. It was miserable. I also, man, I was eating this like terribly healthy bar shit. Like one of them was like kale flavored. I didn't try any of them before. I was like, oh, it sounds nice to like not eat a bunch of junk.
Yeah.
And I had these kale bars, and I was like eating this like kale bar shit with my gloves on, and like my gloves just smell so disgusting.
Yeah.
And they still smell like that, and it's like the nastiest reminder of like just a miserable time.
So have you been on any of the Arizona Trail since?
I did the 300 the next year.
Okay. So you did go back and get it. So after that, before we get into the next year, so after that, were you like, I'm done with this bullshit, I'm never doing this again? Or were you like, I got to go back and get redemption? How long did it take for that moment? Because you went and got redemption.
I mean, I think I wanted redemption like as I was doing it. I was like, dang, dude, I was like maybe I'm pretty fast.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the first clue that like, yeah, I'm pretty okay at riding my bike long distances.
Because you're like on the heels of Kurt at this point. You're like, hey, maybe I
Yeah.
got a future in this.
Like not the heels, like probably outside the castle. Like,
Okay.
On the knees. But he was the tire tracks in front of me.
That's like, most people can't even see Kurt's tire tracks by the time they hit him.
Yeah. I also like was dumb enough that going into Reddington to like get to Mount Lemmon, that section's like notoriously hot and slow. And I like pulled up track leaders.
Yeah.
And was like super low on water already, and like, yeah, hadn't slept, and was like, we'll see. And like pulled up track leaders, and I was like, well, how long did it take Kurt to go through here?
Oh boy.
And I was like, great, I'll like add an extra some time on Kurt.
Yeah.
And Kurt went through at night, which is far faster than going through in like the middle of the day. And I just got like absolutely nuked, and like didn't have any water for a super long section.
So from Reddington to like Molino Basin? Yeah, there's like nothing. Yeah. Molino has some pools, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
But other than that, is there anything else for water in between?
No. There's like one of the boxes, but I just like blew by that and was just like dying the whole time.
Oh yeah, there's a box. And I know in the spring there's some water available that runs off.
I think there's a tank.
In the spring, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like kind of off trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like a running like creek one time when I ITT'd it like back in 2020 in the spring because of all the runoff.
Dude, I've still never gone out in spring. I've heard it's like a completely different experience.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and I think they moved it because of overlap with like through hikers. I would have to let John Schilling speak to that.
Well, I thought they just kept getting snow up on the North Rim.
Oh, okay. Maybe that was another reason too.
Yeah. When everyone just kind of like unanimously decided that, like, yeah, everyone from Colorado was like, I'm not strong enough in the spring. Like, all you've been doing is skiing. You haven't touched a bike at all.
Right.
And then it's like, if you're trying to do the 800, like,
welcome to Thunderdome.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, now you're dealing with high grasses if there's intense monsoons, cat claw. That's the problems in the fall, right?
Yeah.
That weren't there in the spring.
Yeah.
And no water.
Don't shave your legs.
Yeah, dude. Like, the cat claw is gnarly.
Yeah, it's super bad.
Did you see they moved the, well, obviously you signed up for it. They moved the start up 1 hour.
Oh, nice.
Because of the
that closure.
Ranch closure. Yep.
Yeah.
Which it was like, it basically a lot of people just had to stop. You know, any middle of the pack people.
In like the worst, when you're like still amped, it's like coming into the first evening.
Yeah.
And then you're just
you can't go
at a standstill for a whole day.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that was a good move.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the like 4 a.m. start. I feel like most people I know sleep terribly. I don't.
Yeah.
But it's nice to just like wake up and be like, cool, let's get like a ton done. And I'm like too excited Like you're not gonna sleep in. Like most people are like not sleeping that whole night anyways, and starting at 4 is just better than like you sitting like a zombie in your bed, like, or at a campground, like waiting for the clock to keep turning to like get going.
Dude, before CTR, I slept like a fucking baby. I went to bed at like 6 p.m. the night before. That
was how I was just crushing coconut water, turned the lights off and popped some melatonin, and I was just out.
Yeah, dude.
And I woke up and I was like, dude, I slept like 10 hours.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, what? I slept like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I was like, bummer.
Yeah, totally, dude. On the big long road climb on the first day to the saloon thing
in Waterton.
Yeah.
Or after that.
Yeah, after that.
Yeah.
Like miles like 70 to 100, like stage stops at like 100. Sure. Yeah. And there was a guy that was like, I slept like a half an hour last night, that I was riding with him on the road, and I was like, yikes, sorry. Like, I slept like a freaking baby.
Did you go to the campground?
On the first night?
Yeah.
No. What campground?
Before stage stop, there's like that like lake campground.
Oh, Terrell Reservoir? Terrell, I think.
Terrell?
Yeah. Terrell. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that lake's called, but there's like a little stop, and you can go like crush a Coke and an ice cream.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah.
I heard somebody else had stopped there. I missed that one. It's before Terrell.
Yeah.
It's I forget the name.
It's like right before Terrell. It's right before you go up the pass. I didn't know about it either, but I was like riding, and someone was like, "Oh, are you gonna stop here?" And I was like, "Where?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "This place," and I was like, "Sure." And like that's what I did. I just like crushed a Coke, ate some ice cream, and then was like back on my way.
Yeah.
And then I got to stage stop, and dude, that place was just swarming with riders. Like people were already charging stuff. I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
How many Instagram stories are you doing that you're charging like into the first evening? And everyone was like eating buffet, and I was like, "Dude, I got to get out of this place."
Yeah.
Like we have just started. This is a day ride so far.
Yeah, I mean it was like
you don't need to sit down.
5 or 6 o'clock at that point when I was there. Sun hadn't even gone down yet.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean we were just getting warmed up, you know. And that was like the first big drop zone for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of like people in over their heads, like, you know, at that point. And yeah, it kind of was a cluster when I was there too. I just was like, give me 2 sodas, no ice. Here's money.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink these and get out of here.
Yeah, I always just go like Red Bull or Coke and like a little snack.
Yeah.
And then I'm just gone.
Yeah. So what's with the 4 a.m. start from Hefe? Like he does that on Loopy Loop.
Yeah.
What is with that? I thought it was just a CTR thing, and then I see it there. Is that his style?
Maybe Hefe's just a 3 a.m. boy. He's just harder than the rest of us, dude.
It's like, why do you have to start at 4 a.m., you know?
He's got a daughter, bro. He's got to finish.
I thought at first...
I mean, I like the 4 a.m. start, dude. You get 2 hours of night riding.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone spreads out, and then it's daytime, and like you can get so far in the first day.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, yeah, if you didn't have a 4 a.m. start, like a lot of people aren't going to make stage stop.
Right. It's like what, 8 o'clock or something they close maybe.
On Gunny Loopy Loop, I don't know. He just likes 4 a.m.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. So take me through that race. It's been on my to-do list or my bucket list for a while. Was it your first time doing it?
Yeah, and similarly, it'd been on my bucket list for a while.
He's had it going for a few years, yeah?
Yeah. I think like maybe 3-4 years, something like that. Seems like if he races CTR, then maybe he doesn't do Loopy Loop. I don't know.
I see.
I've gotten a lot of flack for last time I talked to you, and I was like, make sure your GPS is dialed. And
yeah, dude.
There I was, dude.
So
not dialed.
You're
but
saying
arguably not my fault.
Check your shit. Yeah, so diplomatically take me through what happened there.
Like in GPX files or the whole race?
Well, let's talk about the race first, and
Okay.
then maybe you can get me into that.
There I was.
That moment.
Having not ridden a bike really at all this summer, decided to do Loopy Loop because didn't do CTR. Felt all sad.
You were having FOMO?
Oh, definitely. yeah.
Do you like when track leaders loads up? Do you look at it and like look at all the names? Like go through all the names and be like,
Yeah, I think I look at all the names and I'm like, dang, looks like fun.
Mhm.
And then I'd maybe check dots once.
Yeah.
Like maybe the 4 days in when you see like what everyone's actually made out of, and like people are probably almost finishing, where you're like, okay, yeah, that's how it shook out.
The first couple filters have.
Yeah, watching like the first one day, you're like, who cares, dude?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't say anything. 2 days, still,
Right.
who knows? Yeah, so I decided to do Loopy Loop as my CTR alternative.
And it starts in
Gunnison. Yeah, I was really excited to see Andrew and Katie and Hefe decided to race like kind of last minute. And the I might be butchering this. The Townsigers. Joe and Kristen.
Yeah. Tons.
Yeah, to see like a bunch of people that I like knew or vaguely knew that were all doing this like super hard ride. Yeah, anyways, 4 a.m. rolls around. We start riding. Quickly it's like Andrew, Hefe, me, this guy Max, out towards the front. Oh, right before the race started, Isabel, my sweet lady, couldn't find her freaking Wahoo, dude. Like minutes before the start. So we were like,
did she look down and it just wasn't there?
We were like trifling through stuff and like
panic mode.
Couldn't find it, and like I really had to poop in the morning and didn't get to.
Ooh.
And then we found it like we were like right across from the park, like rifling through the van, and like watched everyone start, and then she was like, I found it. And I was like, good. And then she put it on, and then we like played catch up on the road, like trying to meet everyone, and then like caught up to everyone like right before Hartman Rocks. Yeah, had a pretty sweet sunrise. It was really cold in the morning. Like everyone started like puffy jacket or like rain jacket, puffy jacket. I did not, which was my advantage that first morning when everyone pulled over to take off their layers. gave me that extra 10 feet.
That's 5 minutes. There were a couple loops on this one, right?
There's the biggie and the shorty. Mm-hmm. So two options. One's like 150 miles. One's like 250 miles.
And was there some overlap? So the biggie would come back around and catch some of the shorties?
Yeah, vaguely. They like was the same route until Crested Butte. And then the biggie went on like another kind of short loop.
Right.
And then you went to like Mount Crested Butte. And then I think it reconnected for a little bit, which I ended up seeing like Isabel and Katie and like caught that whole shorty crew.
Yeah.
Which was super cool. Also weird to like come upon your partner and be like in a very different headspace. Like I was like, Andrew's behind me and I was adamant to not let him catch me. And I saw Isabel and she was like moving less fast than I was. And I was like, well, have a good one. Love you.
Well, your Wahoo good?
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye. And then I saw Katie like right after I saw Isabel, and she spooked me in the trees. I was like taking off a layer and she was like, hi. And I was like, oh, what? I was like, is that Katie? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, you scared me. She's like, I thought you could see me because I was stopped like light just blaring on where she was trying to sleep. And I didn't realize it because she was like behind a tree. Sorry, Katie. Yeah, so I was just like, dude, the dragon was behind me, bro. Andrew in those Shimano shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just, yeah, race. Yeah, it was really nice to just be racing with Andrew again.
Do you like being in front and having someone push you from the back like that, or would you rather be catching someone?
I think either.
You're good?
I feel like is like just knowing that someone's like, that you're like really racing is like all, cause before that, like going into Crested Butte, I like could see Andrew's prints and was like, dang, he's like right up there. And then like going into Crested Butte, I saw him like as far as I could see. I saw him on the road going into town, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I pulled up to Ace Hardware, and I was like, where's Andrew? Like, is he not getting food here? And then I was kind of in a panic. I was like, well, is Andrew not resupplying? There's no way he like already had all his food. He can't be that strong that like he had 2 days of food and it was just like crushing.
Okay. So you started spiraling. Like,
yeah. I kind of started spiraling.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, oh yeah. While I was resupplying, these 2 kids were like, oh, what are you riding? And I was like, oh, I'm doing this like race. And I think cause I was like at a store, they were like, oh, are you like, you're just trying to get it done? And I was like, no, I'm like in second. And then they were like, oh, who are you?
Yeah.
Like young kids. And I was like, I just thought it was funny.
Felt pretty cool for a minute.
Yeah. Felt pretty cool while I was in a
Ace Hardware
parking lot being fucking watched by everyone in Crested Butte.
It is that was a thing of note that was weird for me on CTR was resupplies got progressively more difficult for me just because it's like you're in this
weird
space and then you are instantly teleported into this other space and you have all these responsibilities
and you definitely like you look like a crackhead to everyone. Like your eyes are like you're so like jittery and wired because you're like trying to be efficient, trying to do everything, and everyone's like, whoa.
It's like you're in a different dimension. It's like you're in the mushroom dimension and everybody else isn't. It's like the same sort of vibes, like you're just completely on different planes of existence, right?
It's super weird.
So I don't know. But so did you ever like
touch tips
with Andrew in the old resupply?
No, so I left Crested Butte and
you didn't cross paths with him there.
I resupplied like real fast, and there was like some weird event thing going on in Crested Butte where like everyone was in the streets, and I was like you said, it was just weird. You're like, oh, I'm like racing, like, and there's a bunch of like, there's like a parade going on or whatever.
Yeah.
I then started up this super long, like switchbacky road climb. And like, I don't know, 8 switchbacks up. I was just like, I thought I was behind Andrew. So I was just like racing to catch back up with Andrea, and then like look down at some point and see Andrea on the switchbacks. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And then I don't think I saw Andrew until I didn't see Andrew till I came across him going the other direction. Yeah. So like pushed through that night. I then was riding the next night, and I don't know. I slept for like, I have no idea, less than an hour probably.
Emergency bivvy, just kind of
nothing.
Not just in dirt nap.
Yeah, just jacket and rain pants.
Temps are okay at night.
No, it was fucking cold.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was super cold. Probably not the right kit. Yeah, it was probably like under freezing for sure.
So you had no front roll on your bike?
No. I just have my like little
seat pack,
my little lunch pack, and then I have like a little 5-liter dry bag as my seat pack. Super clean kit. Looked fast.
Jacket or vest or backpack or anything?
No backpack. Yeah, I just had like my riding shirt and shorts, and then rain pants, rain jacket, puffy.
And the water situation is everywhere, just like on CTR?
Yeah, it was everywhere, and like I always feel like I'm a little too nonchalant about it, because like being in Colorado and like if the race is in Colorado, I like still feel like I have the Arizona like camel blood in me where I don't drink a lot of water, and I'm just like like 1.5 liters will be fine, and I like don't even look at the map.
Dang.
So I carried 2 liters, and I was like, yeah, that'll be fine. I then started riding, and I was like, I hope it's fine, because I really don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. But it worked. There's a ton of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just carried like 2 of my like kind of like backpacker style, just like smart bottles with like a screw on like Sawyer filter.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like dip water, like fill it up, throw the filter on, and leave. yeah, it's super nice.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, it's like back flushable when I get to town. So I don't have to like, yeah, it's just smooth operating. Yeah. So saw Andrew going the wrong way. Well, I was going the wrong way. But I didn't know that at that point.
Well, so in that moment, you both must have thought you were going the wrong, somebody was going the wrong way, right?
Yeah. But it was pretty clear that Andrew was confident he was not going the wrong way. And to be fair, I was confident that Andrew was going the wrong way. And he was like, oh, you're going the wrong way. And I was like, I'm on my route. And he was like, yeah, but your route's wrong. And I was like, we don't know that. And we didn't have service. We couldn't like pull up track leaders and look.
Oh.
So we like compared maps, and it was like this one section at Texas Ridge by like CDT, by like Taylor Park, Taylor Lake. Yeah, we looked at maps and like they're different. And he was like, where'd you get this? And I was like, same place you got yours, dude. Like, I didn't make this route. I didn't like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was downloaded from JWookie1, just like the rest of them. Great site. Good job, Hefe. And Andrew's like, you should follow me. And I was like, no, dude, that doesn't make any sense. If I follow you, like, and I don't have the route, we're not going to ride together. What happens when like one of us, when you leave me, I'm just stuck to like guess where to pick the route up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he could have like airdropped me the route on Gaia, but I was already committed. I was like, dude, I went the wrong way. I didn't know how long I'd been going the wrong way because like we didn't look over the whole route.
Oh.
And I was kind of like, that's my race, but I have a GPX file and like I'm gonna follow the GPX file. But at that point, I was still like, Andrew's wrong.
Yeah.
So I went the other way. And I ride for like, I don't know, 30 more minutes. Then I come across this dude, Max, also going the wrong way to me. And he was like, oh, what's going on, dude? And I was like, my route says to go this way. And he was like, oh, sorry, like, bummer. And at that point, I was still like, both these guys have the wrong route. Somehow.
Yeah.
It's still possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that behind Andrew and behind Max was the one man who had the answer for me. So I asked Max, I was like, oh, where's Hefe at? And he was like, I just saw him on the road. And I was like, on the road, like my route, I was on the road. So maybe it is these two guys are wrong. So I rode like 5 more minutes. Hefe made it quite clear I was not on the right route.
Yeah.
But he was very apologetic. Yeah. He was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, this is my route. I got it from your site. And he was like, oh, I'm sure it was my fault.
Oh, man.
And I was like, I mean, I don't know. So for the next, like, long while, I was just like trying to think of like where I clicked and if I like could have possibly clicked the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Which seemed unlikely, but I downloaded the route onto my phone and then like with that airdropped it to the laptop and then onto my eTrex. So it was like I'd clicked once and I didn't have like any checks and balances besides like making sure that the full route was there.
Did you edit at all and like ride with GPS or anything? Like add POIs or anything?
No, never.
Yeah, so there's no real...
I normally make a note. My extent of planning is I make a note. I put like the resupply, which was Crested Butte, and the mileage. And like, that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, I have 80 miles to town. I need 80 miles of food.
Right.
And then from Crested Butte to the finish, I need 190 miles of food.
You make like a note in Ride with GPS?
No, just on my phone.
Okay. Separately. Yeah.
Yeah. So like my CTR note was like 4 things.
Yeah.
And just mileage. And I just like, that's my extent of planning.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not likely that it glitched and just came up with this whole different route, like from transfer to transfer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
Well, it was funny too, because I was like, I chatted with Hefe, and Hefe was on like a pretty tight time schedule.
Mhm.
And I was just like, dude, this route is really hard. And me and Andrew moments before were like, this is remarkably hard.
No shit.
Like, very hard.
And yeah, and coming from Andrew, that's like different sort of hard.
Yeah, it was hard. And I saw Hefe, and he looked pretty shelled. And he was like, oh, I'm like not going fast enough to get home when I need to go work the deli. And I was like, dang. And he like seemed pretty bummed that I just got taken out of the race. And I was like, oh, do you know like what file this is? And he was like, no, I don't have any idea. And I was like, what? It's just like
he didn't know.
you would have had to have made this route
at
some point. And I was like, oh, maybe it's like some past years.
Right. Like, oh, we had that bit 2 years ago,
yeah,
and it somehow got in there or whatever. He didn't have any idea.
No.
So weird.
So Hefe decided to scratch, and we rode to Taylor Park together because that was on my route, and I was like, I'm just following my line. Like the line is always right. Yeah. So we went to Taylor Park, got a Coca-Cola, chatted in the parking lot, and then I continued on my purple line, and eventually it like reconnected. It was only like one section of like, I don't know, maybe like 20 miles that was different, and then like the rest of the route was the same. But I didn't really know that at that point. I was like, I'm following my line, and like I'm not really racing anyone.
You knew though it ended at the right place, right? It wasn't going to just deposit you over.
Yeah, I looked at it enough to know that it went to Gunnison.
Yeah,
and the numbers were all like the same scope of like elevation and mileage, like almost identical, which like is probably why I wasn't cued in that it was different.
Right.
But anyways, end up racing Andrew still, even though like I wasn't really racing, but I also wasn't really like, there was no point to like push to like crazy levels, but I didn't have a sleep kit. So like that kind of determines some things for me.
Yeah.
Hefe was like, oh, do you need anything? Like, do you want anything? And I was like, no, I like got my shit. I don't have a sleep kit. That was my choice. And I just like having a light bike, which felt remarkably heavy at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like kept riding, fell asleep after this pass on this. It was pretty cold. But it like, you like dropped down to this pass, and then I went up like 15 feet, and it was like a little warmer, and it was flat. It was like some double track, and I was like, oh, I'll just sleep right here, and then I'll do the next pass. So I took a little nap, and then at 4 a.m., someone's light was on me, and I was like, oh, because I was like kind of in the road, but like remote double track alpine road.
Yeah.
Where like I wasn't worried about cars, but like waking up to like a bright light is still like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of opened my eyes and realized it's Andrew. And yeah, he kind of like just laid down like adjacent from me, and we just kind of had like a little meeting, and we just chatted about how remarkably difficult this ride was. It was so slow.
Yeah.
And it was so much hiking. And it was like, yeah, I was on a running shoe that should have been retired, and I was like, oh, I'll just do this ride. And it was like so soft. The foam was like gone. It was terrible. So my feet were just like getting wrecked from like hiking jagged rocks with like no support. And then me and Andrew like had a nice little hike-a-bike up to the saddle, and then we started descending, and then super gnarly descent. Just that whole ride is like loose, blown out moto.
Yeah.
That's like nearly unrideable up, and like you better be very technically proficient to ride it down.
Yeah.
It was just like full on, nothing was fast. Yeah, it was wild. Just really hard. And then earlier I was riding with Hefe and like noticed we started descending down this road, and like Hefe was just like instantly like hundreds of yards in front of me. I was like no brakes. He was no brakes, and he was just like whew. And I was like, huh. Does like 0.2 inches of a tire make that much of a difference? And then me and Andrew started descending this road after we had our 4 a.m. meeting and like climbing stuff. Same thing, dude. Andrew was just like, whew, like thousands of feet in front of me instantly.
Yeah.
And he like looked back like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And I kind of looked down and had like, I didn't have any noise, but my pads were like really close to my rotor. And I was like, huh. But I was close enough that I was like, I don't want to like mess with this. It's probably like a full, like I need to press my pistons back in and like reset my caliper and like get everything right.
Yeah.
And it like didn't seem like it was doing anything. Yeah, I ended up finishing like 2 hours behind Andrea. And I was like, man, I don't know what's going on. Like whether it's my bearings or like my rotor. He was like, yeah, something was happening because like you were going crazy slow.
Right.
And Katie like spun my wheel while I was on the ground and it was like,
okay.
to like an instant stop. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, dang. And then I got home and looked at my pads and like, dude, I don't know how long that was happening, but like completely gone on one side of my pads and like the other side was fine.
Oh.
Yeah. I needed a new bottom bracket. Like my bike was wrecked.
Oh, man. So you were pushing against friction the whole time.
I don't know for how long, but at some point I definitely was. And like, yeah, I didn't really realize till I finished.
So your pad was all the way worn down on one side to the metal?
Yeah.
And you didn't hear that?
It wasn't like all the way to the metal where like, yeah, you'd hear that it's metal on metal.
What kind of brakes?
But like one pad was completely gone. Shimano XTs.
M7556 dash T3000s?
Yeah, you know your stuff, guy.
With Shadow Plus 5-star technology?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got those
Shadow.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat Scorpion specials.
Yeah, 12 pistons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have used 12 on CTR.
Nah, you couldn't have.
Yeah.
Nah.
It was a lot.
You didn't need 12 pistons.
4 was good. I was happy with 4.
Yeah, 4 is the right amount.
2, I don't know,
You
man.
could get 6 if you wanted.
They do 6 now.
Not now. This like old school downhill.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So if you have-
Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah. If you get any pistons
eBay.
sticking, dude, you can have redundancies on redundancies.
I did Red Ridge on 2 pistons. That was painful.
Nice.
Like 10-year-old XTs.
Dang.
Painful. Anyway.
Yeah.
So let's go. I want to go back to that moment when your lights are on each other and you realize something's afoot, right?
When we're having our meeting,
Yeah.
or when
before when you first realize that like something's fishy with somebody's track.
oh
When
yeah,
you first meet lights with Andrew.
yeah,
I think most people you had. It sounds like your confidence brought you through that. Like you were like, they're all wrong. I'm right. I'm gonna keep going.
Well, there's not another option though. It's like,
Well, you could drop.
nah,
I think a lot of people would, right? Especially if they were racing someone else.
yeah, but what fun is that?
I just think
end the fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would. I'm not saying you would. I think that's like, I think a lot of people would have been like, no, I'm out then, right? Because it seems like a lot of the elite people, maybe not you or Andrew, but they go all the way, and if they're not having a good race in the first 100 miles or something, or if something goes wrong, then they drop, right? Like everything's got to align for them to stick into it.
Yeah, I feel like that's like, for me, if I were ever fast enough for like FKT mentality, I
Yeah.
think like that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
Where it's like, oh, like if it's not like smooth sailing and it's not like full efficiency, like what's the point? I'll try again.
Right.
But if you're racing, it's like, at that point, if I had gotten the right route and had a device that I could Bluetooth the route to, I could have like legitimately probably still gotten third if I would have like backtracked and redone
Right.
like the whole ridge section. Like, I feel like if, I don't know, I was like close enough to the front that I was still like, felt like I was racing.
Right.
And like, to get back would have been still riding my bike. It's like so much easier for me to just follow the purple line
Yeah.
than to like pull out my phone and be like, okay, well, I can like get back to this road and then like do this and
Yeah,
that.
it's like such a disruptive mindset when
It's
you're
like, eh.
you've just been following this track and you're in this simplistic state,
Yeah.
right? Of like, just do this one thing.
Yeah.
And now you're like, I got to do all this
Yeah.
Bluetooth. I mean, would you have, if you had the technology to,
Would I have backtracked?
yeah, would you have made that decision to do that?
Nah.
You would have just kept on the route that you had? And
I think
did
so.
what you
I
did?
think for this ride, yes. I think for like maybe something like CTR where it's like it's official enough that like it's a very clear scratch. Like you're off route. Scratch.
Yeah.
Like scratch or backtrack. But this was like, I don't know, it just felt like a bike ride with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And like pushing sleep and riding hard was like, that's just like what friends do. It didn't feel like super racy. It didn't feel like a stadium.
Right.
It was like,
Yeah.
oh, bummer. Like my route's wrong. I mean, I was definitely bummed. And when I finished, I think Andrew like also kind of had the like wind taken out of his sails because he was like, I was like, oh, congrats. And it's like, well, you might have won.
Right.
And it's like,
it's kind of a unique dynamic.
and I was like, well,
right?
I think you still would have won. And he's like, I think you would have won. And I'm like, well, you won, so we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. It's just an interesting dynamic, right? Like a lot of people, like I woke up the next morning and I saw you and you were both, I didn't know it had happened because I didn't see you when you were off the route.
Yeah.
Because it was like in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Very, very few people. Me and Andrew were like, we were like, Scott Morris is probably laughing right now. Dude.
Yeah.
He's just watching us both.
3 a.m.
He just knows one of us is going the wrong way and that eventually we're going to meet. And then we did. And like someone is watching Track Leaders and sees this happen.
Yeah. Scott's probably the only one, right?
Yeah.
But then I saw the next morning and I was like, you had slowed considerably. And I didn't know the backstory until you told me later. And then I just was like, oh man, like I immediately thought like, how would I have reacted in that moment? You know, like the wind would have been taken out of my sails. Yeah. So bad. I would have just like been like, whoa. It felt so pointless in this moment, you know? Yeah. So it's
a good reminder that it is pointless though.
Totally. And your attitude is great. Like, cause it is just like, we're all riding our bikes, you know, and things get real serious, but this was like one of the less of the serious races.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, it sounded more fun for like me to still race Andrew. Mm-hmm. Like whether I was out or not, like I want to push him. Maybe he wants to push me. And like, yeah, that's more fun than like coming in with my head low and like just riding back to town and like not doing the loop. Right. Like I still did a loopy loop. Right. It was just not the right year's loopy loop.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got first place in your
first place in alt division. Arguably harder. So when I finish, turns out Matt or Max also had the same GPX file. When Kristen finished, she was like, oh, me and Joe had that file the night before we started. Connor Adkison had that route right before, like the night before, and then switched. So it seems like what happened was the GPX file was different. It was like an option, and then he updated it like days before the race started, but I had already downloaded the route and like checked it and stuff. Right. So I like had my route and didn't think like the route was going to change. Right. Turns out Hefe didn't know if that the way that I went, it was like this, it was a terrible hike bike, like up to the CDT.
So it was like a scouting route?
I think so.
Possibly? Like this could be a possible route for the Loopy Loop?
Yeah, it goes.
And you got to find that out?
Yeah.
At 2 a.m.
And I was like I remember at that point, it wasn't 2 a.m. That was like middle of the day.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just like riding this road, like very clearly the opposite direction of like where I wanted to go, like to Gunnison. Yeah. Like when a route meanders so much that you're like, dude, why?
Yeah.
Like, we should not be going this way. That was like my whole like alternate version of loopy loop. I was like, oh, I'll just like get to this point and then it's like smooth sailing. But no, I like turn, go like back up north to this like heinous hike a bike that seems like it's just going to like nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just terrible hike bike. And then the descent that Andrew and everyone else had to climb was actually pretty sick.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they had some like bad CDT rolling stuff.
Yeah.
That I didn't do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
congrats on finishing it and keeping it together. A lot of people would have lost their shit, man. I think a lot of people would have been a lot more upset, but maybe not justified. But I know, people get, we get a lot of feedback from, I haven't gotten it directly on opinions and stuff, but there's, a lot of,
all to Dana. You just forward it straight over.
a lot of it. Yeah. He manages a lot of email stuff,
Yeah.
but
You don't want that login.
well, no, I don't. People don't want to hear what I have to say either when it comes to that, because I don't have a lot of tolerance, because I'm like, here, have your money back.
One, it's like,
look
at the GPX, you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Or like, you should have an idea. And some things have like CTR, like if you show up and you're like, oh, there's a lot of hike a bike. There's like a million resources that tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like, what's your excuse?
Totally. And this is founded on people that didn't have those resources.
Yeah.
The ethos of bikepacking is like exploration and adventure and like not knowing, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I originally got into it, was like, there's a built-in barrier for entry, right? Doing
money.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, so contrasting it to like this running race I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like questions that people ask in like the pre-race meetings where I'm like, oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't figure that out,
you're
going to have a rough time. But the thing about running is it caters a lot more. There isn't as much of a barrier for entry as like self-supported bikepacking, I think. There's a lot more like...
Just because it's a simpler sport than more people do, or...
I don't know what it is. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing because it allows more access for people, but I think it is a bad thing sometimes because people don't have to learn how to be... Look, I think it's fine for a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon, but when you start getting into like the 50 miles and the 100 miles and the 250-mile distances, people need to learn some self-reliance stuff that they don't learn in the come up on these running sports, because they're not required to learn it, right? They're not required to learn how to filter water.
Yeah, when you hit an aid station,
right,
more often than you need, and it's just all taken care of.
Exactly.
And like, if you need to quit, like, there's a sag wagon, you'll be fine.
There's medics.
Yeah.
There's, a good example of this is on Cocodona. They have a water stop on the first 50 or 30 miles, I think, in a very remote dry section, and they mule the water in because there's like not a road that goes to this spot, so they have to like take mules with water.
Sick.
And a bunch of the water got stolen by like a side-by-side group or something.
Dang.
Yeah. And so they didn't have enough. They had to start rationing it. And there's creeks running, so like you could just filter water, but like nobody had water filters, right?
Yeah.
Now, in their defense, there's enough people. Not some people do bring water filters, and so like there are people that I'm generalizing here, but some people are like more prepared, and at that point, everybody's concentrated enough that you can share water filters and stuff, like in that situation. But like shit happens, and when you're in these like you're doing stretches that are 27 miles with no aid stations. Like you got to know kind of how to deal with problems. Yeah. So
you should.
So I like back to bikepacking. I think that like when people complain, you get that same mentality occasionally from people that are, I think, getting into bikepacking, and you're just like, this is what it is. And Dana's one of the best, most organized race directors, and always has been.
Yeah.
Right. And he cares about like answering all the questions and making sure that people are happy with their experience that he's providing. Yeah. Right. And I have a different mentality. That's why I'm not allowed to check the emails, right? Because I'll just
figure it out.
Yeah, because I'm just like, well, maybe there's a little bit of this that is built in by design so that people don't actually get themselves into situations, emergency situations.
Yeah.
Perhaps, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are just like, yeah, something sounds cool and like sign up. And then they sign up and then they're like, whoa, who would have thought that like this was super hard? I feel like running and biking are a little different in like terms of events too, because I feel like for the most part, running, like when you get like vert and mileage numbers, that like does tell you a lot. And biking, like if you get vert and mileage, it doesn't tell you like anywhere close to how quickly you can move through that terrain. Because like I feel like on a flat trail, if it's like super rocky, like I can probably run very close to the same speed.
I see.
As if it were like paved. But on a bike, there's like a lot of like ability that I think plays like more of a role than maybe running does.
Right. So you can calculate your moving times a lot more consistently with running.
Yeah.
Possibly. Because the terrain is not a third factor in that.
Yeah.
On distance and vert.
Yeah. And I think if you're like not used to like the terrain of some of the like mountain bike races, then you don't know that like you should probably be calculating like a 2.5 mile per hour moving average.
Like CTR for me.
Yeah.
Like I underestimated, even though I was told that.
Yeah.
It wasn't real until I was there.
Yeah.
Like countless people told me that.
Yeah. Where you're like, I'm on a bike, like I'm going to be moving.
I figured 5 miles per hour was pretty good. And I was moving like 3.
But only through like certain sections, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I ran out of food a couple times because of it, because I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't plan very well in a couple spots.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'll get there fast. And then you're like, oh, this is why people talk about this section.
So
it's
like
really slow.
Would a solution to that be hypothetically if Ride with GPS, I know they have like paved and unpaved, but what if it was like levels of difficulty of trail or the type of like A, B, and C grade road, right? Or like a road grading system or something that was color coded or something like that, like a heat map almost. Then you could see.
Yeah.
You could see speed ahead of time. Right.
That'd be convenient. I mean, there's like Epic Ride Weather, you can like input a GPX file and then say what your moving average is and your start time, and it'll spit out like what temperature, how much precipitation, elevation, and like finish time you should have, which is like pretty convenient.
What's it called?
Epic Ride Weather.
Okay.
Where like, yeah, I mean, it is fun. You have to do so much math, I feel like, when you do like endurance events, which I think is fun.
Yeah. You like into the math on the fly? You like doing it while you're riding?
Yeah.
You're thinking about it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like sometimes my first CTR, I remember leaving BV and being like, wow. I like started riding and I was listening to an audiobook of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And like Frodo just got stabbed.
Oh.
And I like was just running through the math in my head and realized I like messed up.
Like in BV?
Yeah, I was like, my mental math failed me by like a lot. And I was like, oh no, I like
by a whole digit?
I just like halved the amount of food that I was supposed to have.
Shit.
Yeah, and I was just like I was like listening to like the dark audiobook of Frodo like getting impaled, and then I was like, oh no, like I'm going into storms with like half the food I need. I'll figure it out.
You stop in Princeton?
No, I ended up just being like, oh, I got to Princeton and it was closed.
Because I could have bailed you out of that.
Yeah, that would have been ideal. That didn't work out. Ended up just like riding for a few hours, getting to Cathedral Cabins.
Yeah, okay.
But I hadn't originally planned on going to Cathedral Cabins, but I was glad that I did, because I got there and like everyone looked wrecked, and I was just kind of like looked inwards and was like, dang, everyone looks a lot worse than how I actually feel. So it kind of like pumped me up
Yeah.
seeing like everyone doing really bad.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll admit I like that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you
Yeah.
get to stage stop and you're like, dang, these people look bad.
Mm-hmm. You're like, my training paid off. If you did training or whatever.
You're like, I'm about to crush.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the ego or whatever inside of us.
Yeah.
So Cathedral is like an oasis, man.
It is an oasis.
Yeah,
also a trap though.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to go in with a plan,
Mm-hmm.
or like you're being sucked into the void.
For sure.
But yeah, those people are wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's like such a haven,
dude,
that it's there.
Yeah.
And the fact that people like don't go to it because it is like a soft mile off trail.
Yeah.
Is very surprising. Because like.
Yeah. It was barely off trail. It was fast rolling.
Because it's like, yeah, maybe 15 minutes of ride time off trail,
mm-hmm.
but you can carry half the food through that whole stretch. It's like so worth the energy.
Totally. 100%. I mean, I was out of food going into Cathedral, so if it wasn't there, I would have been in big trouble. Like,
same.
But maybe I would have planned better then. Because I might have planned poorly because I was kind of like,
yeah,
it's not too far away.
Yeah, that place is wonderful. I do think it'd be like, because I know some people that are like, oh, like, well, if you get there at night, like, what are you going to do? And my new plan, like next CTR,
yeah,
I'm just going to carry a crisp $100 bill. And if I get to Cathedral and it's nighttime and like I'm trying to keep pushing, then I just like load up, do my calculations, and be like, okay, it's under $100.
Overpay.
Like,
yeah,
here's $100 and I'm out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would have been awake. I think those people dot watch and stay up all night for people coming in.
Probably. They're amazing.
That's what I heard. Bill Talley, I think his last name is.
Yeah. Bill's a homie.
Yeah. Sleepy Bill. That was his nickname.
That's funny. I feel like I started calling Bill Sleepy.
Yeah,
he's fast,
that
but
came up.
The boy's a little sleepy.
Yeah, so indeed. So he got into Cathedral at like 2 a.m. and then slept 6 or 7 hours or something. And I didn't get until the next morning.
Yeah, when me and Bill raced 2 years ago, he was like, we were far, dude. We were at like, I don't know where we were, but it was far. And Bill was like, where are you trying to get tonight? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, what do you have planned? And he was like, I'm going to Cathedral. And I was like, that's far.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I booked a room. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know something, but enjoy your sleep. See you later. Bill did not make it to Cathedral Cabins. No. It was far, as I anticipated.
Yeah, that whole section leading into it, that's the La Garita bypass, I think, before it. And then there's those Pinos Pass.
Yeah. I love that climb.
Yeah, dude, I saw a giant moose in one of the lakes up at the top there, just sitting in the middle of the lake.
Oh, nice.
It was magical, you know. The next morning, like I slept down low somewhere.
Yeah.
And then did the pass in the morning. But I froze down low.
Oh, I bet.
Like I should have climbed and then slept up there.
Climbed like halfway or something.
I froze and it was wet. Everything was like, it wasn't rainy. It was just like dew and just, it was just not a good decision.
There's definitely, I think going like no sleep kit, you like really fine tune like where is sleepable.
Yeah.
Because it's like not up high, it's not down low. You got to look for like those weird little windbreaks that make no sense, that are like mid-grade elevation, and just like take them when you get them.
Yeah. It's a good point. Because, I mean, I kind of just was like, I have a sleep kit. I can just stop anywhere.
Yeah. And then you're like shivering all night.
Bad call. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I got it. I got a sleeping bag. Some people don't have a sleeping bag. And it's like, well, yeah. You're pushing for hours longer and finding like a good spot to sleep, I think is just always worth it.
Right.
And like the less sleep kit you have, the more you're just forcing your hand that like, I keep moving until I find the spot, the safe haven.
Right.
And if the safe haven comes like a little earlier than you wanted, like maybe you sleep a little earlier than you wanted, but like you pass it up and you might not find another one.
So what are you looking for other than the not too low, not too high? Like as far as terrain, what would be an ideal spot?
I feel like I always look for like, yeah, you're definitely not low. Like you're not in a creek. You're not like up in a saddle. it's probably like really east or really west facing. I mean, really, I don't like check a map. I just ride. And if I come across like, because sometimes you'll be riding and you're like, whoa, it's warm.
Right. This is a good spot right here. This feels good.
Yeah. And it's just like, you're just like, huh.
Right. It, like, going down into like on AZT or Black Hills, that section, you go down and it cools off and you get out. But some of those, it's warm. You dip into those.
Yeah. And you're like, huh.
Yeah.
And just like, don't think about it. Just go to sleep.
Yeah. And then sleep, a few hours before it changes?
Yeah. I mean, whatever you can get. I mean, going no sleep kit is definitely like not the move for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're like really out there and like you have to be moving and like getting like hurt is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On Loopy Loop, I had my first case of like, what I'd consider like exercise induced asthma. I like could barely breathe, and was like, would take a few steps and like have to like sit down and like catch my breath to like not have like what felt like a panic attack like coming on. Yeah, and that was sketchy because I was like couldn't move fast at all and was like didn't have anything to like rest comfortably either. So it's like, okay, now I have to like move slowly and like try and stay warm. And yeah, it's not like a position I think a lot of people like to be in, but
yeah,
I don't.
Well, it's a risk. It's a managed risk.
Yeah.
Right? So like the less stuff you have, like the less you're prepared for if something goes wrong. And so you're kind of like, bikepacking's always kind of done that. The racing part of it pushes the limits of the risk, right?
Yeah, you're definitely threading the needle. But boy, it's just so much nicer to ride like a light bike.
Yeah.
At whatever cost.
Yeah. Yeah, not a 50-pound bike.
But is it faster? I don't know. Sometimes not.
Right.
Like if you get bad sleep day after day, like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Or there's times where like, yeah, maybe like you have the energy to push longer, but you hit the warm spot and you know that like the next 60 miles, like there's just no way you're going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And so like maybe you have to call it earlier than you want, or you're like committing to a full no sleep night, which isn't the move all the time.
Right.
Like that can be a detriment in racing instead of like, oh, I have like a burly sleep kit and like I'll push into anything and like whatever I encounter, I'll sleep fine. Like that's like a powerful thing.
Right.
But also like to know you're going to be comfortable through all hours of the night is like, it's hard to keep pushing.
Right. Yeah. It's a balance. Plus then you have all your own interpersonal. People are different, physiologically different. Sometimes people can have, like I can have a night where I feel really good to push through the night. And then I have some nights where, like on Arizona Trail 300 a couple years ago, I was like completely roached by Kentucky camp. Like I was cramping. I was really fucked up.
The hills, dude.
By Kentucky camp.
They'll
right?
get you.
And it was like 8:00 at night on the first day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I shouldn't be this screwed up, but it was just because the difficulty of the terrain compared to other races.
And sometimes you just like have a bad one.
Exactly. And so when is that bad one going to sneak up on you? Is it when you're not going to have a sleep kit?
Yeah.
And then something else might go wrong, right? So it's a managed risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the like asthma on Loopy Loop was the first like, whoa. And I saw Andrew and he was like, oh, you were hiking biking at like 10,000 feet. And that's normally like.
You're good with that.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like I don't normally feel like I feel altitude until like 13,000 feet. And then I get like a little like,
short of breath or.
Not even short of breath. Just like, I just feel like kind of like loopy, like, like a little buzzed or a little high.
Oh, really?
Where you're like, like there's a little less oxygen in my head and like it's noticeable, but like breathing normally fine.
Yeah.
And so for me to be like huffing and puffing, hacking up a lung and like if I like picked my bike up, I was like fully out of breath and I was like, yikes.
You're getting old, bro.
So I slept a little. That was like the only thing I was like, well, I like sleep is the only thing that like might make this better.
Yeah. It could have been an allergy too. Right? Like it could be like allergy induced asthma.
Yeah, I don't know.
For real. Like the longer you live in places, the more susceptible sometimes you are to the allergens that are in the air in that area. So like I've gotten more allergies every year in living in Flagstaff, like whatever the local stuff is here. Like only really over the last 5 years, and it's noticeable, right? But like
Time to move.
No way, dude. Love this town. I'd move to Durango if I was gonna move. It was either Flag or Durango. They're such close in cities,
Those were my decisions.
Really?
Earlier too.
Yeah. You were like, I want out of Tucson. It's too hot down here.
Yeah. It was kind of like Bellingham, Durango, or Flag.
Bellingham, Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was like Bellingham was like the one that was a little more out there.
Yeah.
Like Flag and Durango were a little more central.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you just done with the heat? Because I'm from Tucson too. So like I was like, I've had enough.
I think the heat and I'm young, just kind of needed to leave.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like I had dreams of I want to live in an A-frame in like a mountain town.
Oh yeah.
I watched the movie Out Cold, like snowboard movie.
Okay. I haven't seen it. Maybe I should.
You should probably watch it. It's probably pretty stupid by now. But
still enjoyable.
Yeah, and I was like, that's, be like a ski bum and like work at the ski area. And that was the vision.
The live in the mountains goal.
Yeah. Like specifically in an A-frame,
Yeah.
Even though they're like really not that efficient, or I guess they're efficient for heat, but like space wise, they're not very efficient.
Yeah. Great for not shoveling a roof.
Totally. Which I had to do at this place.
Terrible to build though.
Our first year.
Really?
Yeah. We had 6 feet of snow. Snowpocalypse.
Whoa.
Yeah. Which is very like nothing's rated for that around here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You don't have like the winter structural loads that like a winter town might put on a house.
Exactly. So we had 6 feet of snow and a few feet coming. And so and everything is rated to 6 feet basically. And so we were up there. We had just moved in October, and this happened that December. And it was our first house that, we had ever owned.
Wanted to make sure it didn't cave in.
Yeah. first 2 months, roof caves in.
Just paid that down payment.
So I'm up there like panickingly like shoveling the roof off.
Dang.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. But didn't end up in an A-frame. So.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
There's a lot of time.
For sure. So the full 800 is in the books, or on the books.
It's on the books.
And Isabel, is she going to do the 3?
She's gone for the 300.
Nice.
Yeah.
So on the 8, what's your plan? Are you going to just, your normal
I'm going to ride
standard proto, which is like, let's see, what do you got? Resupply and
I feel a lot more worried
Gold
about
Canyon.
The 800's always scared me so much more than like any other ride.
It should.
Yeah.
I've never done
like,
the 8. It's scary.
Being like nonchalant like you can in Colorado stuff, I don't think flies.
Yeah.
And thankfully I like have done the 300 twice and kind of like can wrap my head around that. But I have to wrap my head around like the 300 like a little slower too. Like that's the adjustment to the 300, and it's gotten harder. Like the last 3 years, it's gotten harder and harder.
For sure.
Like now you get to Kentucky camp and it's dark.
Yep.
That
used to be like, what, 6 p.m.?
Yeah. I feel like I used to, yeah.
Because you took the road, right? There was a big road section. Yeah.
Yeah, you get to Kentucky camp and be like, nice. Onwards. And now people are like, most people are sleeping like around there.
Right.
Yeah, it's gotten way slower. And then like the whole north section is like a big question mark.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to actually like look at maps.
Yeah.
Do some research, some reconnaissance.
Yeah, and the Portage, that's always a big thing, like planning for that. You can't really just get off the couch and do that, I mean, you probably could. You do a lot of it, that sort of thing anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, with this new like flared up IT band, that's kind of like the one thing that I'm like, like that's what I need to kind of rehab to get ready for. Like IT band stuff on the bike doesn't normally like happen, but walking downhill with weight is like a pretty surefire way to be in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole backpack thing I think is like my big question for the Grand Canyon.
which bag to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you carry a bag the whole way, Stremke style? Or,
Probably.
Or send it into Tucson, right? That's the other option.
I think just like having everything on you is just kind of simplifies things in my brain.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to worry about it. And having a pack is nice, especially for like things that have a lot of hike bike, like taking some weight off the bike and like having a little more capacity, especially for, I ride with like such drastic temperature swings, like layering and stuff. Having a backpack's nice.
Yeah. It's almost like layering's more important than weight, super low weights.
Yeah.
I mean that the temperature changes on that race are so hard on you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean 90, 95 on Reddington climb, and then possibly single digits. The possibility of single digits on the North Rim.
Yeah.
Like 9 degrees. Yeah, that's cold, man. That's like dangerously cold if you're not prepared for it right.
It's dangerously cold, and that ride's also just kind of like long and hard enough that I think like a full legit kit like makes sense.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that have done like the Grand Canyon Portage with like very minimal like webbing and stuff, which sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But I also don't really want to carry like a full frame backpack.
Right.
So I have some experimenting to do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to buy another pack.
Yeah, well, you might have to.
Nah.
I mean, isn't the classic kind of the Osprey Stratos?
Yeah.
24, I think, is kind of the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Pack that's got the right kind of, it's got the like the straps in the right spot and a little bit of a frame system.
Yeah. But I don't own that pack.
Yeah. You can borrow mine. I have one. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. I've never I got to figure out that.
Yeah. No poles then?
You know, I just this last weekend was the first time I'd used poles, period.
Really?
I like borrowed some.
Yeah.
Revolutionary.
I agree with you.
Dude, I felt robotic going up hills. I felt like an alien.
Yeah.
Just like General Grievous, dude. Just on one. Gosh, it was so fun.
Yeah.
And then to have knee pain and like be able to crutch with them.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, these are legendary. But to carry poles for like 6,000 foot downhill, carry them 600 miles?
Yeah.
700 miles? I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
And if I start without them, then I don't have them, and I don't have to think about it. But if I have them and the whole time I'm riding for 700 miles and I'm mad that I'm just carrying two wizard sticks on my back.
Why not just like buy them along the way? Is that like not into that? It doesn't fit the whole.
It's kind of off route.
Yeah, REI.
It's off
in
route.
Flag. It's like right there.
It's far,
I guess
dude.
it is a little off route because you cross on the east side.
Yeah.
By the one Conoco.
Yeah, it's pretty far.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty far. Okay, I'll give you that. And there's nothing in Tucson.
Yeah, I mean you could go the ship option, but
yeah.
I mean, I think I'm definitely gonna have a pack to start anyways, and like I'm not gonna ship a different pack, and I'm definitely not gonna just ship poles.
Right.
Shipping just sounds confusing. Like through hikers, dude, all that logistics.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
I hate it. That's kind of why I like long distance stuff. It's like, oh, you just do a loop. You don't have to deal with shuttles.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to
It's all there.
Yeah, you just have all your stuff.
Right.
Anything that happens, you're good.
Right.
Yeah. It's so nice.
I agree with you. And I think there's maybe a little badge of honor with I carried and used everything.
Yeah.
You know, along the way, I carried the pack the whole way. Even though it's in the rules and it's acceptable or whatever.
Yeah.
There's kind of this is the next level. Of badassness. Stremke definitely was he got the Boy Scout badge for that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think he had the badge already.
Yeah.
I mean, that was when me and my buddy decided to bail on our soft rock attempt, we hit the road and had pretty, I don't know, 8 miles to get back to Silverton. And plenty of cars were you want to ride?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know, dude. We put ourselves out here. I think we just got to walk it back.
Right.
And so we walked it back.
Yeah.
And it took a long time.
Yeah.
But it just like feels right.
You had your pride.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had your...
It's like, well, I wasn't strong enough to like finish the route, but I better be strong enough to like get myself home.
Yeah.
But that's just me. And taking a ride sure sounded nice.
Yeah.
And there was
nobody watching.
There was really no reason not to.
Right. Did you see that this is jumping around on topics here a little bit, but so you know Resupply, the running group?
You gonna do saddles this year?
What is that? What do you mean?
In Prescott?
No. What is this?
I guess it's not associated with Resupply.
No.
But I don't know why I brought it up. Saddles 100, dude, Michael Versteeg.
Oh. Yeah, he's like...
I love that guy.
He's a different kind of character, dude.
Yeah, he's a character.
Like cut off shirt with like holes in it and stuff. He's like I've described him on this podcast as like the best drywall guy you know. Like long hair, just like he looks like, you know, the glasses. He looks like, you know, he throws beer cans in walls before they cover him up with drywall.
Yeah.
You find him like 150 years later. Old Bud Light cans in the walls. You know what I mean?
Nah, that's a Bud Heavy guy for sure.
Bud Heavy, yeah. No, they just announced this morning that they're introducing USADA drug testing on ultras. Yeah.
What's USADA?
U.S. Anti-Doping Association. So like high level anti-doping stuff. Like UFC uses it.
Oh.
It's like
legit
Olympic level. Yeah, legit drug testing for the golden ticket races. So those are like the races that the ultras that qualify you for Western states.
Yeah.
So it's just this thing that's always kind of been in the back of my mind with like ultra sports and no real regulation, and bikepacking doesn't have any real regulation. And now people are kind of like making money off of it through like sponsorships.
Yeah, I mean, ultra running's gotten huge, and race entries are expensive.
Totally. So, you know, one thing I was thinking is, do you think like bikepacking's ever going to get, so like ultra running it grew over the last, 7 years, 8 years maybe. And it went from, you know, local, like small races, 10Ks, 5Ks, half marathons. And then you started seeing people evolve into these longer ultras. Right. And then like Resupply, like made it into a business, and then they made it into like a spectator sport.
Yeah. With
streaming, and now Starlink's available, so you can like actually do streaming, and so like the technology caught up. Like, is bikepacking ever, do you think it would ever go down that same trajectory?
I think bikepacking is a lot less sexy than running.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way?
Dude, people wear spandex with chamois.
Yeah, you think that's what does it? Like that's what kills it? The nail in the coffin?
Well, I think like running's so much more accessible, and that makes it like more appealing. And like understanding like, oh, someone ran 250 miles is like, everyone's run a little. And I feel like that like makes it more like easier to connect to. Like people have more empathy for running than riding a bike. Mm-hmm. Something about riding a bike is like, feels like a childish endeavor. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one to think about. I just don't see how like, I mean, bikepacking's gotten bigger and bigger every year. And ultra running has gotten bigger and bigger every year too. But something about them, like, bikepacking doesn't seem like it can be taken to scale in like quite the same way.
I would argue that people would have said that about ultra running, 150 miles, 50 milers and 100 miles in the beginning, that it would be difficult to scale them and make money on them.
That's true.
And they did. Right. And it wasn't easy. It took many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And a lot of bullshit, especially like Cocodona, where they have like multiple counties and all this permitting and like crazy logistics from that point of view, you know, but like Resupply's done it, you know? So does it just need someone who would come in and do the same thing basically and have the business sense to like standardize it and like turn it into a business?
You had to like standardize like racing.
Yeah, you'd have to standardize a lot of things.
Because I mean,
to have,
like
rule sets. stuff like that.
I feel like right now, like, I don't know, maybe I don't think about it because it just kind of bums me out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I like that it's like vaguely underground,
Exclusive,
and like I can go do these races with like a bunch of people that maybe I've looked up to for a while, and like it doesn't cost anything, and like you just show up at like some random spot, and there's tracking, which is like convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to be like this big thing that like,
I think the closest thing is maybe like gravel racing.
yeah,
Like kind of long distance gravel racing has gotten close to that. What's that one in Kansas?
I don't know what the new name is.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a pay race. You pay to get in. And there's all these expectations of it.
Yeah, and gravel racing and like the like podcasting, Instagram world is like, I feel like that's like top echelon of like bike racing.
Really?
And like in like the US, I think so. I feel like a lot of people like who are into riding are almost like more interested in like those top tier like gravel rides and like following like those athletes than say like Tour de France or like the like European like huge road racing. And why? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, why is that more attractive, right?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I think a lot of like mountain bikers see like the Tour or like the Euro, and they're like, that's not cool. But it's still just like riding bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And like someone that's like dedicated their whole life to like putting down watts and riding a road bike really fast is like damn impressive. And it's scary that like those athletes would crush us in like whatever we try to do, as like Lachlan does.
Totally.
And like doesn't care. He's like, oh yeah, that was hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went faster than anyone, and like, cool, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Like those dudes can ride a bike. And I think a part of me is like, yeah, it'd be so different. Like as it is now, it's like small enough and like niche enough that I'm just like some dude that like works a lot and can like show up and not sleep a little and like do okay. But if you like start pulling like real athletes,
mm-hmm.
then it's like it feels less like the like everyday person's like riding. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, when things get like bigger and bigger, it's like, well, like now it feels like less attainable. Like if I wanted to run Hard Rock next year, like I might have to lottery for years and years, or Leadville, or like any of the big ultras mm-hmm. in the country now, where it's like, it's just kind of like a bummer. But it's also, you know, you can go do it whenever. Like you can go do the Hard Rock course right now,
mm-hmm.
and like you can do it self-supported. You can go, you know, you can go run any course, and arguably like you can go run Hard Rock like during the race and just not have a number. And like, yeah, you know, it's public land. Like you can go.
Yeah, but it just doesn't have the same. Like there's something about the whole
event
thing, and that's attractive like on social media too for outsiders that don't do it too. Yeah. Right? It's like accessible for more people for whatever reason. You know, maybe it's a time thing too. Like I think that running is a more social sport. I think the way running's been designed, like with aid stations and crews and pacers and everything, right?
Yeah.
You don't have any of that stuff with bikepacking.
Yeah.
So it inherently makes it a little more of a selfish, introverted sport, right?
Yeah.
Even though there's a community that's a very strong, tight community, it's not built on like having all of these people to support you to get you through this thing. Even if you're like, especially if you're if it's your first, 50 mile or something, it's a big deal to have those people to help you.
Yeah.
And so now you have 6 people who are like on social media talking about it, you know, and like blowing that out into the universe, So, and I think that's more like, it might be more inspirational for people, and that's helped it grow, I think, right?
Yeah.
And socialize a little bit.
That it's like, yeah, it's definitely more of like a team dynamic, mm-hmm. less of like a hardo, like, yeah.
Like I had a few people come out and ask me if I needed help, if they would like, if I would like them to help support me, to pace me on this 100 miler. And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have pacers because I'm like programmed into bikepacking. I'm like, I don't know. It's too many logistics.
Yeah. You got to figure out when you guys start with me.
Right. Yeah.
And then you like,
And
if you're having a bad time and like things aren't meshing with your pacer.
Right.
You're like, oh,
I know what I'm like in my darkest moments by myself.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely comfortable. Right. But that's not how most ultra runners are. The ones that's not how it starts for most.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some elites that don't have pacers now and barely have crew, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, when you like run day to day, not in a race, do you like to run with people or do you like to run solo?
It's changed over years, I think.
Yeah.
Like I learned how to become better at being social, and learned that I actually enjoy it more. In fact, I started running more to spend time with Jess because she's a runner, not a rider.
Yeah.
And so it was like, this is a good way for us to spend time together, you know? So, so now I like riding and running, even like on CTR, it was like, I was spending a lot of time like gluing to other people, would talk to them for a few hours or half a day, and then we would part ways.
Yeah.
You know? So it became more of a social thing for me. I think I'm like leaning towards that. But when I started, it was very like, I'm going to go hard and I'm going to have my headphones in and like very like antisocial. But I was going through kind of a mental place in my life where I needed to kind of get to that point, you know?
Yeah.
So like on this race, I hope I can link up with somebody that's similarly paced and meet somebody.
Yeah.
You know, if it doesn't happen, that's fine too. But I just didn't want to deal with the logistics. I just didn't want to deal with the logistics of a pacer, man. You know?
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, Jess is crewing me and she's 2 spots and it's a pretty like simple, like I really liked that part of the prep for it was how simple everything was. I did my packing list and it was just like, what? Am I forgetting something?
Yeah.
Where's all my stuff? But that's normal for you because you have no sleep kits. So.
Dude, when I watch like YouTube videos of like all like top European runners and they're doing like Tour de Mont Blanc like prep, and they're like got their baggies and they're like, and I'm like, whoa, that's like, that does not look fun to me. That looks like so stressful.
Yeah.
And like complicated. Like to go like do soft rock or do like a big self-supported like fast pack or something. I feel like to me it's like cool. I like know about how fast I travel and like I'll get to like some resupply at this point and like that's it.
Yeah.
It's just like so straightforward.
Well, I think you can get really addicted to the process of that, of overcooking stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, also like I feel like if you're someone that like trains super hard for like one thing a year, then it's hard to not like try and make everything like as dialed as possible and like try and set yourself up for success. But I think like for me personally, it kind of like stresses me out and does like the opposite. Like if I start overthinking things, I like just spiral and like won't make a gear decision until like the last moment because I'm like, oh, there's like too many things to do and like there's like so many options and like I don't like it's a lot easier day before just like cool, I'll just run the kit that I know and like it's good.
Yeah.
Just tried and true. Like yeah, coming into the AZT, I'm like, oh, what backpack? Maybe I should ride clipless. Maybe I should get a new computer. And it's like, well, or I could just like keep doing what I've been doing, and it seems to work just fine. And it's like a lot less stressful than like, oh, maybe I should try like this new thing and like test it out.
Mm-hmm. Some people love that and they can handle that. So, but I think, you know, everybody's different there. Yeah. You know, like there's people that really, really get into the weed. I've been on both sides of it, and I think I've evolved into like now it's very, I'm systematic. I have my system that I do. And like in CTR, I skipped a couple things that I normally would like have obsessed about. And I think I regretted that. Like I didn't pre-planned some of my calories on some of my stops. I thought, I could just do it on the fly.
Yeah.
Like I'm comfortable enough now that I'll just make the good decision in the moment.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
And, it sucked.
Yeah, there's like room for error.
Yeah. But I got through it. It wasn't like ideal.
Yeah.
But like I dealt with the problem when it was a problem. And I really envy people that can do that. Like Andy Wenzel.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's all good. And he was my second guest on this podcast, and he did the 800, and he had all kinds of problems, and he just was like dealt with it when it was a problem.
Yeah.
Figured it out, and he's programmed that way. He's an engineer or something. And,
yeah. I don't know. That just seems like so much easier for me.
Yeah.
Like going on vacations and stuff. My partner's always like, "Oh, we need to like plan this and this." I'm like, that's just a lot. Like,
can't we get overwhelmed?
Can't we just land and then like figure out where we're gonna how we're gonna get somewhere?
What about when you visit family?
Then like get a place. That's a hard one.
Yeah. Do you like go to the grocery store, or if family comes and visits you? Are you the type that goes to the grocery store first, or waits till the family shows up and then you go together?
Wait for the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what I'm hungry for.
Right.
Until it's moments prior.
Plus maybe they'll pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables to take into account.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I bought spaghetti and I'm not in the mood for spaghetti.
Yeah.
What a waste of money.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I don't know. It's just easy to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good, it's honorable till it's a problem, till it's a serious problem, I guess.
There is no governing board to like make a decision.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a lot for a race director to be put through. Like similarly, John being put through the whole Will situation. It seems unfounded for someone doing something out of like the goodness of their heart and volunteering a lot of time to like be buried for like a decision that they thought was right and like had plenty of reasons to think it was right.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, well, look, Leal had an opportunity to Leal withheld information on the Bikes or Death podcast that she went on and talked about it afterwards. It started that whole shitstorm. It wasn't that she lied. It was that she didn't say everything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If she would have said, John stopped me at Pick a Post and told us that we needed to stop at this point.
Yeah.
And we would still be, we would still not get an asterisk. But if we continue with the media support at this point, it's going to result in an asterisk. That conversation happened, and she just didn't say it.
Yeah.
And that's a very important part of this.
I think that conversation happened before the start too.
Okay, so it happened twice. See, I didn't even know about that. So like, why wasn't that mentioned in the media following? Why was that? It just didn't seem very diplomatic. That's all I'm saying. Like, she had an opportunity to be diplomatic.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And it was, what is it, for fear of sponsor loss? Or, I don't know. What is this? Is it just, but it resulted in, horrible things being said to Schilling. And yeah. I would have been out if I was him. I would have been like, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Feel very bad for John. It just seemed really unfair.
Yeah.
Also to have like a lot of people not in the sport who like maybe don't fully understand like the typical rules and regulations and like what's actually at play and like what the advantages of some of what happened like truly are. Like if you were a runner and you had pacers and pacers weren't allowed, like people would unanimously like decide that that's not okay.
Yeah.
Because that like makes a lot of sense in people's eyes, and like people not familiar with the sport and like not familiar with long distance things, like understanding the advantage of solely just seeing like someone you love out on trail like frequently is huge. And I think a lot of people, Andrew, Katie, Alex, Johnny, me, and Isabel, like, I think it's something that like comes up a lot in our heads if we're racing together. Like you have to be really wary of like being close to your partner, because it does bring up like that it's advantageous.
Yeah. There was a Radio Lab that looked at this, you know, a podcast Radio Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Specifically in bikepacking.
Really?
And did some science on it. Yeah. And like unanimously found that it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Like they did science. I don't know what the testing was, but they did the S word.
Those geniuses.
But yeah, it makes a difference for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, dude, it made a difference for me to see like Tim Tate, who I didn't really know, but like I'd always wanted to meet him in person, and, you know, or I'd met him at Pinions, but I got to talk to him for a little while.
Yeah.
That made a difference. You know? So like on Loopy Loop, you're catching up and awkwardly with Isabel.
Yeah.
Wahoo, still okay. Okay. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like, Isabel's first 300, I took the like, relationship support thing to like a pretty like hard and fast, like I want no decisions and like no assistance for her from me.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah. Like if someone's racing behind you, you like, you have the ability to like let them know things, and to just blindly like let them figure it out is like really difficult. And there are moments when like Isabel thought she'd get somewhere faster than I knew she was going to, and to just like not let on to any information that like what she thinks is wrong, is like a weird position to be in. And like I kind of take a stance that sometimes is like more hardcore than it probably needs to be.
Mm.
Where like, yeah, I like just don't want to interfere with like anyone's race whatsoever. Yeah, to the point of like, I don't know, like people sharing hotel rooms, like I just personally like don't do.
Yeah.
Because I feel like weird about it.
Yeah.
Or like sharing food at a resupply, or like taking anything from anyone, like ibuprofen or otherwise. For me personally, I'm just like, that's like not the ethics that I want to carry for racing.
What about magic coolers?
Magic coolers, I feel like it's like dealer's choice. For me, I don't know. Sometimes you see a cooler and you're like, wow, that's like a fresh cooler. That's like just for us. Maybe there's not like a lot in it, where it's not, doesn't feel like super fair for other riders behind you. I've kind of thought about it for like if there's a race where you come to a resupply that's like really limited, like if you're one of the first people in, it's like a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Or like I definitely try to avoid to like all of my power, like AZT water boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're like gonna die, take some water.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like for me, it's like a hard, don't touch those things. And like, you know, if the first fastest 10 people decided they wanted to rip the water boxes, like what does that mean for the rest of the riders?
Yeah.
And similarly for like a magic cooler, yeah, if there's 4 Cokes and I'm in second place, it doesn't feel very magical.
Yeah.
That like I get rewarded for being fast and someone else is like gonna open a cooler and fucking see nothing.
Right. Well, but I mean, what about being fast and hitting a resupply on route? That's the same kind of thing, isn't it?
Yes and no, I think. I mean, to hit a resupply is information that everyone had beforehand.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
To hit a box is a surprise, and like to be rewarded for being lucky in that instance, when it's like something is there, and like to the finite point, like who it's good for.
Yeah.
Like if you come across some rando and they're like super stoked to give you a Diet Coke, great. Drink the Diet Coke. And like that person's magical.
Yeah.
In the sense of like the sport. Yeah, and like the races attract people, and like sometimes, yeah, people are out like just watching for a few racers, and
yeah,
I mean there's just a lot of gray area, and like you do whatever you like ethically feel good about.
Yeah.
You know, if someone in front of me like takes something from a cooler, I don't care. Like that was their choice. I have my choice. And like I don't really think anything of it. And like if you're out on like CTR and you take ibuprofen because like your knee's blown up and you just crushed all your knee candies, like for me personally, I would try to avoid it.
Mm.
But if you do it, we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And there's a big draw to like racing with other people because of that support.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, people that go out and get FKTs on an ITT is like a whole nother level of commitment. Like you're out there racing no one but yourself and like a number. But if you do a grand depart, like, yeah, you have support, you get to see friends, you get to make friends, and like that's advantageous.
I think it's arguable that the ITT FKTs are more of an advantage because you can time it
weather
with
windows.
weather.
Yeah.
And you are also you're not distracted at all in resupply with other bikepackers.
Yeah.
But you do have a little bit of isolation happening there, so if you can handle the isolation.
Yeah.
I think that those FKTs should be their own FKT lane, and then Grand Depart should have their own FKTs. Like there should be an ITT, an FKT for an ITT, and then an FKT for Grand Depart.
Huh.
Because I feel like they can be two completely different events.
I feel like I like that there's like the FKT, and then there's like, yeah, the Grand Depart winner.
Right.
But that's not like a separate FKT category. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right now, if you're pooling them together, so there's people who've done the Grand Depart and gotten an FKT.
Yeah.
And then there's people on the same race that have done an ITT and gotten that same FKT.
Yeah.
I think that they should be two classes for those, right? For a Grand Depart FKT that rolls from year to year, and then an ITT FKT, just because of the weather window advantage. Something like CTR, that's like significant, or Tour Divide, that's a significant advantage.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, and then it's interesting that like...
But it just kind of complicates it too, a little bit too much.
And I mean, when rides change,
right?
There's a new FKT. Like when the AZT went from 750 to 800, the FKT started over.
I think when it went have like legacy FKTs, right?
Yeah.
So like the person had the FKT, they're like etched in stone for forever time.
Yeah.
On this distance.
Yeah. Route changed. Congratulations.
You're forever.
You hold the belt forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
For the AZT 1000 or whatever it was for like a year.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When it changes of significance. So like not a fire detour, not a small thing, like a significant thing like the wilderness bypass.
Yeah.
On the lemon push.
Yeah.
That's a significant update.
Yeah.
Highline, those changes. So
yeah,
I don't know if you're going to get like granular about it, like you either got to be that granular or just go ride your bike.
Yeah.
That's just, I guess that's I don't know. I'm kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum on that. You know what I mean? I talk a lot about rules and FKTs and stuff like that. And there's no chance ever in hell I'm ever going to get close to taking one. You know what I mean? But I think it's interesting.
If you reset the route every year.
Or go out and do my own like custom loopy loop.
Yeah. You just got to get nicher and nicher. I mean, loopy loop's nice, dude. You don't see a lot of strong Swiss boys out there. You just
Swiss boys.
Yeah. You just got the Colorado contingent.
Yeah.
That's your only competition.
Yeah. It's a hard group of people.
You got single speed, you got a little nicher.
Yeah.
You know, you can win single speed category. You can take 10th on CTR. But if you're the first single speeder,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. All right. Well, it's like 3 hours, man.
3 hours.
Maybe we should get you out of here soon.
Should probably eat some dinner.
Yeah. So thank you.
Deli Palace.
That was an amazing conversation. Thanks for stopping by while you're heading through town.
Nice to see the place.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. So you're headed to Tucson?
Yeah.
Doing some like route recon or anything, or?
My sister had a baby this morning.
Cool.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Congratulations to her, man.
3 weeks early.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everything okay?
That's why plans. Yeah, everything's good.
Okay.
But yeah, plans changed quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice, man.
Yeah. So get to drive further
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Could have done it today, but
Yeah.
doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. That's a long ways.
Yeah. Going to be a short stay. But yeah, probably nothing super exciting to do. Got to keep rehabbing the leg.
Yeah.
And then like going on little rides. Probably won't do much of anything big before AZT.
Yeah.
And just show up on Old Fitness.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You're young, bro.
Young enough.
You got it.
I don't feel young. I've had knee problems for 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll get easier.
That's what they all say.
All right, Bodhi. Thanks, man.
Nice chatting.
Yeah. And we'll catch up with you later.
Tucson born.
Smash. I wanted to let you know a few different ways that you can support this podcast. Of course, you can like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tell other people about it. Tell your friends and family. If you think these conversations I'm having are valuable as I think they are, share it. Send it out. Ask them to subscribe. That would be amazing. That's a free way that you can support. Another way you can support is by financially support is by becoming a member on either YouTube or Spotify. Those links are always in the description of all the videos. And YouTube members do get some extra perks like member shout-outs during the podcast, priority reply to comments, and best of all, you get early access to new videos that I'm releasing. You can also, if you don't want to sign up for a recurring membership, you can also show me your support by sending a one-time gift using what YouTube calls the Super Thanks feature. So when you're watching a video, down at the bottom, there's the little buttons, the thumbs up, thumbs down button. And right next to that, there is a heart with a little dollar sign in the middle, and it says thanks next to it. That is the Super Thanks button. So if you click that, it'll allow you to give a one-time gift, financial gift of your choice. And it's just incredible. Like seeing the support that I've gotten so far from both members and from Super Thanks is just amazing, and it is definitely allowing me to keep this thing rolling down the tracks.